Welcome back to our channel, everyone. Today we're going to talk about a story that's shocking Christians Joni Lamb's marriage to Dr. Doug Weiss, a marriage counselor and sex therapist who got split from his wife of more than 30 years. On Daystar TV, Joni Lamb has been a strong Christian, but her marriage has brought up a lot of important issues. Even though Joni could get married again after her late husband Marcus Lamb died, the way her new husband Doug left his wife is not clear. What really makes Lisa special to you? She has the kindest heart I've ever seen. I mean, she just loves and serves with great skill, and she does everything with great skill. Folks like her because she has this "how can I help you" attitude. An easy thing to do is draw a heart. I see a lot of my Joni in that. Thank you very much. Say that she left him. He says that's why his ex-wife left him. His former wife runs his business. Other tapes of his ex-wife saying directly from him that she was a devoted, loving, and excellent mother for around 30 years, or perhaps 36. Not sure for sure, but over 30 years. Which brings us to the sad part. It was like she begged him to stay with her and not leave. You could get a divorce if Doug didn't stay with Joni after he married her, right? Is that so? In that case, it's a tough and straight question, right? Not really. Some people believe Joni got married again too soon, since her first husband had died less than 2 years before. A letter from a family friend of many years, Denise Boggs, said that Joni is lying and that the information being shared in the ongoing Lamb's family saga shows this. This video shows 7 problems with the relationship between Joni Lamb and Doug Weiss that make it quite controversial. Allow us to begin. First red flag: the time of the split. In January 2022, Doug Weiss asked for a divorce from his wife Lisa Weiss. The split was finalized in May 2022. 2 months earlier, Joni Lamb's husband Marcus Lamb had died. Doug's decision to end his marriage made people look twice, while Joni was sad about the death of her husband of more than 40 years. Randomly meeting Joni, or did Doug already have his sights set on her? On February 8th, Doug tells her he is divorcing her. This is Lisa Weiss. Don't forget that she got divorced, and I have proof. This past May 31st, Lisa and Doug got a divorce. On February 8th, 2023, he will say it. Red flag number 2: not being honest. Doug Weiss hid the fact that he was divorced from his clients as a marriage and sex therapist until February 2023. This happened almost a year after his divorce and just 2 days before Joni made their romance public. Why would someone in a job that depends on honesty and trust hide something so important for so long? People go to him as a marriage counselor, but I wonder if they know that he's divorced the whole time. No, they do not. And that's what I had intended. One big problem is that there was lying. In order to get people to come to his therapy center, he told them that he was happily married. That's not true, then. In other words, I believe you should tell your patients if you are going through a breakup afterward. On 3. Following a few days, on February 10th, 2023, I believe Joni announces her engagement. He is going to say that he just got split on February 8th. After 2 days, she's going to say that she's engaged. What makes it so crazy is that I think that's the only. He did it then because he knew Joni was going to say that she was getting married, but he hasn't told any of his employees that he's divorced. He practically had to do it. He held out until the very end before. Third red flag: not listening to good advice. Numerous reliable sources told Joni Lamb not to date Doug Weiss, but she ignored their advice. People in this group included her adult children Jonathan, Rachel, and Rebecca Lamb, and their husbands, Denise Boggs, a longtime family friend and counselor, many pastors, and even some of her Daystar viewers. They were all with Joni. Numerous preachers have told me, it's our job. It's our job as leaders to do that. You're responsible for it. You can tell Joni about this if you agree or disagree with it. And many of them said, well, we're not. I remember that someone in my family gave me a full list of everyone who was against the wedding and marriage. While talking to a few of them, I told them, well, because we're supposed to care for the widows, care for them, that is a bad time for them. You should tell her the truth in love if you care about them and don't think this is from the Lord, or that it's being rushed into. Therefore, I do know of one who told the truth. Some leaders were honest about how they felt about it, though, and he talked to Joni right away, saying that there are likely two or more bosses. That might have said something. I also don't know how Joni felt about that. Are you able to understand that? It looks like people didn't like it. Therefore, she only desired to be with individuals who would assist her. Basically, it wasn't well accepted. I think that's why a lot of the other people didn't say anything. Did the company and the ministry have any other employees? Furthermore, you guys have a lot of different preachers who come on the chow to help you or support you, which I think is kind of like a gift for the warning as well. Yeah, I see. Rodney Howard Brown is the pastor. I really like Pastor Brown. His meaning was clear. Although my mom was engaged, he came as a guest before they got married. Of course, he was one of the ones who made us afraid of God, since he came to Daystar in February 2022. Apologies, February 2023. Moreover, he told us this was wrong. What your mom would be doing is wrong if she goes on this William trip. As long as he's married to her, I'm not coming back. It was him who said that. It sounds like he said that to her. It's not necessary for us to wake up everyone else. Actually, he told Susie and Rebecca that. All right, that day I was not at home. He told them, even though my mom was traveling that day. They put on a show for us, the strongest one. He went through the office. As if they were flies, people were falling. It felt like God was really there. He is a man of strong beliefs. And he told us what was on his mind because we really needed advice. However, once more, everyone who disagreed is polite. They tell her that this is her choice. Allow us to conclude our discussion of Rodney. So he also told us that my dad had just talked to, playing golf with him. He also said that Doug had put my dad through a lot of trouble after the affair because they went to Doug Weiss for therapy. He felt very uncomfortable around this man because he knew so much about my parents' relationship. And now he's after us, so there are probably people who did warn her. He was in the minority, though. A lot of pastors called, but they don't want to be acknowledged. I agree with what 95% of pastors say. I just don't want to be involved. The fourth red flag is Jimmy Evans's one-sided advice. Pastor Jimmy Evans was there for Joni and Doug while they were dating, but he wouldn't meet with Lisa Weiss or listen to her side of the story. If you think about it, Doug might have only told you half the truth or one part of the story. I do have a lot of knowledge and good judgment, Jonathan. Since I know how to talk to Doug, I could have told in 5 minutes that he was lying while talking to him and Joni. When he told me, well, we're talking, I asked him question after question after question. He answered all of them perfectly, and he never put Lisa down or lied about her. Nevertheless, he's skilled. Dealing with people is second nature to him. Oh no, he's a person. You've made him less human. He understands, right? He is a thing in this world. The world you designed. Doug is an issue. He doesn't have any feelings. He's not a believer in Christ. He won't be forgiven. Unlike Christ, he's not racist. He's a thing. Doug is that person. You've taken away his humanity. He works for a living. He knew how to get a girl to like him, widow in grief and all that. To put it simply, he's a person. When I called Doug and asked him questions, He always answers them in a way that I've heard repeated abuse victims say things over and over again. First, I talk to people and ask them questions. I'm not going to say who I talked to, but I did, and those questions led me to learn what was going on in their relationship. I also met Lisa a few times. Because I had talked to her, him, and other people about this, I was happy that if I had talked to Lisa about it, she would have said and done exactly what Doug said she would have done. We talked about it for a minute on the day Rachel asked. I don't care that it took 6 months longer if that had happened. I personally don't care about my age, which is a great trait. I do have a good wife, you know. You may or may not trust my knowledge and thoughts. You won't find me selling myself. Defending myself is not going to happen. Simply put, this is not the first time, nor is it the 31st time. Absolutely, Jimmy, it might have taken 6 months longer if they had talked to Lisa, but would that have been a bad thing when we were all questioning every single one of them? No, I know that. But that's their problem. Their every son and daughter, Jimmy, can I finish? Was talking about grown-up kids in a second marriage after a death. And I'm telling you that I understand how you feel because I'm not going through the same things you are. I know what I'm talking about when I tell Jimmy you can trust me, you can give up, or you can keep going through this rain. We need to think about this and finish it. I shall not converse with Lisa. I made no claims about talking to Lisa, so I'll leave that alone. All right, nevertheless. What I'm saying is, would it be the worst thing if it slowed down for 6 months? If all of these people's children are doubting the marriage? No, the Bible words won't change. There's no way that it will change anything. That's not true, but what if there is a small chance that Lisa could get back? That would be the best thing to do, wouldn't it? Jimmy said that he trusted Doug's story about being left behind, but Denise Boggs, who counseled Lisa Weiss a lot, said that Lisa wanted to get back together with her husband. Jimmy Evans claims that someone left them. It has him. The reason for the split. I'm just curious about what you told Jimmy Evans when you talked to him. What I did not do was talk to Jimmy Evans. During the call, he did not inquire about Lisa, which is why I didn't talk to him. Since you know this, I think he probably talked to Lisa. Could you tell me if he met Lisa? The only time she ever told me that she had talked to Jimmy Evans was when I was talking to her. Although I'm not sure about that, I haven't been told that. Okay then. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. After getting to know all of the people involved so well, would you believe that Doug and Lisa's abandonment is a good enough reason for them to get a divorce? Speaking of which, I'm currently thinking about the time I spent with Lisa. So no, I think that was a term that was added later, maybe to come up with, everyone's trying to figure out what happened marriage, who's been in ministry together. Together, they help marriages get better. So I guess that's the word they came up with to describe what went wrong. But that wasn't why I didn't work with them at all. Unfortunately, I did not. Even Jonathan and Susie Lamb showed proof of Lisa's willingness to get along, but Johnny ignored them. Joni's visit was the day I really understood that this is not the God I serve. Joni got mad and said, Doug is in Colorado and his ex-wife has been begging him all day to get back together with her and choose her. JW, I were all about to watch the Cowboys game. Then Joni said, he makes me want to more his actions show me what a wonderful husband he will be. Doug's desire to have his own TV show is the fifth red flag. On day, Doug Weiss made it clear that he wanted to have his own TV show, to get what he wants, which I think is to capture the final prize, which is my mother. I think he would know just what to say and do. Another thing that was bothersome was that Doug had been a guest on Daystar for more than 10 years, probably more than once a year. In the past 10 years, he had been on Daystar more than 20 times. He knew about Daystar, the stage, and what it could offer. He had also said on record that he had always wanted a TV ministry. He later told me that he called my mom to tell her that he was buying time on the ministry for his show and to let her know that he was divorced. He checked to see if it was still okay for him to have a show on Daystar. My mom said that's when they started talking, and their relationship has grown since then. Again, it's scary that he knew about Daystar and what it could do for him, and it looks like he got what he was looking for. He wanted a mission on TV. Speaking of facts, my dad was the first person to see the coffin opened at his memorial service in December 2021. He said something rude like, "I want to make sure my dad is still there." His story lasted all day. Then, 2 months after the funeral service, he files for divorce from his wife of more than 30 years. He was there and knew what was going on. Then, after the divorce is official in May 2021, they text each other often. Joni is still standing up for Doug. It looks like she's ready to put her marriage at risk in order to be with her kids. But if this marriage were really God's will, wouldn't it bring people together and be a gift instead of a problem? Truth be told, though, my mother and I got along great. At one point, she told me, "I trust you with my life so much that when my dad died, she added me to all of her bank accounts and credit cards. She believed in me that much." That was the way it was. A real split didn't appear until Doug came along because we were both set in our ways. The way she talked made it sound like she thought God told her to marry this man. Because of this, we can't do work together if you don't think God told me to marry this man. As a result, it was a turning point for her. As soon as your partner dies, you start dating someone else, and you get married a year later. If you try to make your kids accept it, it will only make the anger, hurt, and bitterness grow like a ragweed. That is up to God to decide how to handle the situation with your kids if you really believe that the Lord brought you together and that this marriage is from God. It's not your job to force them to accept a new partner. You shouldn't push them or be mean to them while they're still trying to deal with their grief over the sudden and sad death of their father. You win them over with what you do, not what you say. Whatever the Lord wants to do with your kids, that's up to the Lord. Keep praying and doing what you're supposed to be doing with the Lord. Don't get too involved in trying to get your kids to accept something that they may eventually accept, but right now they're not ready to. I also think that the man who has been getting paid by Daystar for a long time is probably not the best person to be in the room with you and your son if you want to talk things out or settle the dispute. The best talks will happen with a third party that isn't biased and doesn't have a stake in the outcome. There is a seventh red flag: she is against divorce, which goes against what she says. Joni Lamb has spoken out against divorce for a long time. Marcus Lamb admitted to cheating on his wife in 2010. But Joni decided to work through their problems and fix their marriage because she believed the Bible's teaching that God hates divorce. Then why would she marry a divorced man whose wife allegedly wanted to get back together with him? Many people doubt her judgment because of this stark contrast. So yeah, that was my point. Wouldn't it be best to get back together with Lisa? Then I asked Mom, if you go ahead with this marriage, how do we lose the ability to preach the unwavering truth from the Bible that God does not support divorce? He wants people to get back together and fix their relationships. I feel so sad about this relationship. Multiple podcasters and guests on the show went on this mission with my mom. Now, instead of talking about repairing couples, it sounds like she's trying hard to explain why divorce is okay. Often there's a video of her breaking up with Tim Ross and talking about that. And it's sad that that's now the story she's pushing. And you know, when she was married to my dad, she was probably one of the most resolute people I've ever met. She believed in marriage and would do anything to protect it. Obviously, my mother went through a terrible, horrible affair with my father that lasted for about 7 years. In that case, the Bible says she had every right to leave the marriage because of the cheating, that she was going to fight for her marriage. And that was a very good thing. It's clear that God blessed her a lot for making that choice. Just seeing that's where she was at that time makes me sad. I find it sad that she has changed her mind about that. Now, I told Joni, your own kids are telling you that you've ruined this man's marriage. Willingness to give up 40 years of being obedient to God in your testimony. All of it for this one man. Yes, she said, looking me straight in the eyes. It said that she left him. That's why he says his ex-wife left him. His former wife is running his business. Him from his own mouth about his ex-wife. He has said on other tapes that she was a faithful wife, a good mother, and possibly even a wife for 36 years. Not sure for sure, but over 30 years. Which brings us to the sad part. It was like she begged him to stay with her and not leave. It sounds like two women are pleading with this man to stay with his young wife, while the other woman is telling him she already has him. When the breaking started, I thought, God, I've never disobeyed before. But this doesn't seem to fit with what you said after that. I talk to preachers and read the Bible, starting with Matthew. 19th Matthew. I also tell you that a man who divorces his wife and marries someone else is guilty of adultery, unless his wife has been cheating on him. His spouse was not cheating on him. There are big and very troubling worries about Joni Lamb's marriage to Doug Weiss. From strange time to family arguments, these red flags should be carefully thought through. As a marriage is a holy bond, choices like this should show unity, honesty, and biblical truth. Feelings about these red flags? Do you think that Joni Lamb's marriage to Doug Weiss is in line with God's will? Or do these worries point to bigger problems? Join the conversation by leaving a comment below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and follow for more faith-based conversations.